250 applications per role, yet firms say they cannot find talent. Welcome to today's paradox of the modern legal recruitment market. I'm Mooney, I'm the founder of Blue Pencil. Every week on this show, I'll unpack what's happening in the world of legal recruitment, trends, insights and real talk from the front lines of the recruitment market. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in the market this week, the legal market headlines. What I'm seeing is basically most of the focus at the moment seems to be on the Middle East and the offshore markets. Particularly, we're seeing a pickup of activity in hiring now in the Middle East for M&A type roles, which is a very positive sign. It's been quiet really for most of the year, so that's an encouraging sign. This time of year, law firms are looking to hire really to get people in place for the new year. So we're seeing a pickup of M&A activity. Offshore markets are always even in slower times, there's always a shortage of talent, probably because they find it harder for people to move to some of the offshore jurisdictions, but there's a steady stream of funds, corporate, commercial and finance work. So if you're in those sectors, the market's looking pretty good. So every week I'll focus on a particular country, and I try and focus on countries that perhaps people don't know so much about. This week I'm going to look at Oman. Okay, for those who haven't been to Oman, you really should, because it's a beautiful country on the Indian Ocean. You'll be absolutely flabbergasted. It's one of the kind of hidden gems of the world. It's probably the most friendly country in the GCC. What's going on there? Well, they got Omanisation, which basically is impacting law firms, particularly litigation firms. So only Omanis can litigate now in the courts. So that means international firms that perhaps are hiring or have hired Omani litigators, they're in a bit of a difficult situation. But there's going to be a huge demand for litigation, Omani litigators in Oman, and there's going to be huge opportunity for local law firms in Oman. Oman as well, we're seeing a big demand for M&A and M&A roles again and projects. It's a fascinating place. If you're a foreign lawyer and perhaps you like scuba diving, is ideal. And if you're looking for good quality M&A projects work, it's certainly got that in abundance. There's big projects lined up in Oman. You can work as a foreign legal consultant working for a law firm in Oman, so you don't have to be an Omani. So yeah, it's worth looking into if you're looking to move to the Middle East. It's a very safe place as well, very quiet. There's no tax, although there is talks of some lower form of income tax coming into place in 2028. So let's move on in terms of career strategy and candidate insight tips. So I'm just going to give a few kind of blunt, actionable tips for lawyers. First one is, how do you ask for a pay rise when you're employed? I did a blog and there's a video on this. First point about that is prepare, know what your market worth is, and make sure it is accurate. If you feel that you're getting underpaid, then ask for a pay rise. When do you do it? You pick the right time. You pick it when you're having a good patch of form and you're doing well, and you prepare for the meeting with your boss. Don't just dive straight into it. Just go and speak to your boss. Say, look, could I have 10-15 minutes of your time, please, whenever suits you. He'll probably think you're going to resign at that point. But so if you ask for a pay rise, you might catch him or her at a good time. So yeah, and you go through everything that you've done and state why you feel you deserve a pay rise, and see what they say. You won't burn any bridges. If you don't get what you want, what do you do? I mean, well, you start looking at other opportunities. Would make sense. But what not to do, I say this all the time to candidates, is give your firm a chance. Give them a chance to increase your salary before you start going looking elsewhere. What they do not like, and where you do burn bridges, is when you go to them and say, give me this amount of money or I'm off because I've got another job offer. That never sits comfortably. So I always say give your firm a chance first before you start looking. Second point, why is no one answering your application? Simply you're doing the wrong thing. Okay, so you're applying for all these LinkedIn jobs and everyone's applying for it, and your CV is getting swamped with hundreds and hundreds of other applications. You might say, well, my CV is a good one. Trust me, when HR people get their first 100 CVs in, they start switching off. They use applicant tracking systems and AI to filter through CVs. So another answer would be perhaps your CV doesn't have the right buzzwords in. But I actually think you're doing the wrong thing. Applying for posted jobs. It's only 20% of the market. Stop doing it. The 80% of the market are the real jobs which aren't advertised. And they come from reaching out to people, which you can do through people like me as a recruiter. We do it all the time. I've done it for the last 24 years. Way before anyone was ever talking about direct outreach, I was doing it. The real reason why you're not getting headhunted, that's so easy, guys. It's your LinkedIn bio. If you haven't got keywords on your LinkedIn bio, you are not going to get picked up. If you hate social media and you're in the legal profession, you have to use LinkedIn. You don't have to post. You just have to get your profile right so it's very clear what you do, and you will 100% get approached by recruiters, or you get approached directly by law firms sometimes. So get yourself on LinkedIn. I've done videos on LinkedIn about how you get your bio. So let's be honest, as I said here, most lawyers think way too long about making their next move. They do it right, when things are getting bad. Look, if you're not getting paid what you want, the market is still good. Limited, you've got like restrictive skill sets in terms of niche skill sets, which are always in demand. So if you're not getting paid what you want, if you don't think that you're going to progress, if it's an unhappy working atmosphere, don't leave it until you have a meltdown. Before you go, start looking. There's no harm in looking. You don't have to take a job offer. All I would say, if you are looking, keep your recruitment footprint undercover so no one knows that you're looking. I've done some tips on that. So when you're updating your LinkedIn bio, change your settings to private so you're not notifying people that you're doing that. If you do that, the whole world is notified that you're changing your LinkedIn bio. Sure sign thing that you're looking for new jobs. So if you're using recruitment agents, make sure that they're not sending your CV off without your permission. I've talked about this before. You'll be flabbergasted how many recruitment agents are sending CVs without permission. That is not acceptable. Okay, so insist that your recruiter does not do that. Keep a list as well of where all of your where your CV is being sent. Okay, so now, it's not all about candidates, and obviously, we like to help our HR partners out, and it's the same questions that we get asked all the time. Is say that why are we not getting candidates? Why is it so hard when we're getting thousands of applications and we're not getting candidates? The answer is simple, because you are concentrating on active candidates and you're not out there focusing on the passive candidates, which probably makes about 70% of the market. So 70%, I would say, of lawyers are not actively applying for jobs, but will move if they're approached about the right opportunity. So when you post your job adverts out, you are losing 70% of the market. And not only that, is when you put out a job board, or you tend to get swamped with CVs that are totally unsuitable for your role. So you're spending days, weeks trawling through these CVs, when really all you should be doing is going out and getting the talent that you want. And 9 times out of 10, your partners will know who they want to hire within your law firm. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you are not getting candidates. Why do you lose them throughout the process? Once again, I've talked about this. It's because of your interview process. Pure and simple. You'll lose candidates because the interview process is too long, or it's done in a way that makes the organisation look professional. You put in hurdles that are not necessary. I mean, I'll give you an example. Last week, I had an interview. The candidate was perfect for the job. And the feedback that I got was, this candidate is perfect too, but we want to see others. My response was, yes, but there's hardly any others with this skill set in the whole of the Middle East. I said I could find two, potentially, that have got the skill set. Oh no, we still want to see others for a comparison. Why? If you're urgently looking for someone and they tick all the boxes, why are you waiting to see other people for weeks on end in something that never materialised? Okay, so pulling difficult obstacles and boundaries are a surefire reason. Another reason why you'll lose candidates is because you're not doing your research. You're not offering market rate salaries. And perhaps the way that you're conducting your negotiations when you make offers are impacting the relationships with the candidates, particularly some of the firms that are coming in with lowball offers and testing the candidates. Going on, the next point we get asked is the war for talent, retaining associates. Why is that so difficult? Well, pure and simple, I don't actually think it is that as hard as what it has been in the past. I think it's relatively straightforward at the moment to retain associates, because you just got to offer them a clear career path, a transparent career path up towards partnership, and they can see it. Not everyone's going to want it. Some people might get approached elsewhere, but generally the international law firms are all paying standard salaries, so there's no reason to leave. The only reason why they'll leave is because the working atmosphere isn't great, or there's no path for partnership. So, you know, once again, ladies and gentlemen, get your leadership, get your management sorted. I'll talk about this on my Business End podcast. That needs to be right, okay? And you need to give people opportunity. You also need to give talented people the opportunity and the free rein to perform. We see this a lot in the legal profession. Some of the best lawyers we see will push, test, challenge, question, and some of the senior partners don't like that, and they lose out on the really talented mavericks that will go elsewhere, and they go off to like venture capital firms and all these exciting things. But please don't lose your talented staff. The talented staff are going to question your partners, okay? Accept it. How to attract lateral partners without overpaying. Now that is a question that we're asked a lot. Now let's really dig into the nuts and bolts here of lateral partner hiring. We're asked, I mean, I had a case once again last week about this. A partner went into a firm and they were in the first interview straight away. It was like, we want $1.5 million worth of business for you to join us as a lateral partner. Okay, guaranteed following. Now let me flip this question around. When you hire partners within your own firm, do you ask them for a following of 1.5 million? No, you don't. So why are you asking it for lateral partners? It seems to me to be rarer and rarer that law firms hire lateral partners based on experience and ability. Let's be honest, you can write the best business plan, but no contact is guaranteed. I mean, no portable business is guaranteed. People have restricted covenants, obviously not in America, but people have restricted covenants. It's hard. You can't guarantee anything. Nothing is guaranteed. Okay, so this insistence on partners having a following, I think, is a bit of a red herring. I think it's just like a risk ticking exercise. So you're losing talented people with good contacts just because you're asking for a guaranteed following. Second, I mean, you even see it in litigation disputes. Like, we need a guaranteed following of 1 million plus. Like, what sort of what litigator has a guaranteed following? So how do you attract lateral partners without overpaying? Well, it comes again, you've got to do your research on the market rate. You've got to have like a salary structure in place, and you've got to award people for ability and experience, which is probably their base salary, and then you can look at incentivization on bonuses based on business that's brought in. That's how you stop overpaying for lateral partners. You've got to assess what your work is as well. So I think it needs to be thought about how lateral partners are hired. I think that they need to hire on experience, technical ability and experience, and there needs to be less emphasis on portable business and more about contacts and what can be generated, and the structure needs to be more about a base salary with commission in terms of what of what the person can bring in. So I've got a few questions that have been raised to me over the last week. I keep these kind of anonymised because people don't want their names to be mentioned. But the first one I've got is, should I move offshore right now? This is from a candidate in the UK, and I've also had this from candidates actually in South Africa. Pure and simple, should I move offshore? Yes. I think the offshore market is a good one. If you're a young lawyer, most of the offshore law firms, it's like its own private network, and they're based across all locations from the Cayman Islands to Singapore. It's a marvellous opportunity working offshore. If you're a junior lawyer, I would dare say that unless you're working, say, for a big international firm, the quality of work is really high. The pay it would be not as good as central London, but it will still be good pay. But the opportunities there are vast if you go offshore. It's not for everyone. Working in an offshore jurisdiction, the islands tend to be a bit smaller, and they'll tend to. So you have to be prepared to. It's quieter than working, say, in London. Or the Middle East, so it takes the right kind of mindset to work there. Next question, is in-house better than private practice long term? It depends on your level of experience. This is an absolute no to junior lawyers. I don't think that you should go in-house if you're a junior lawyer. The reason being is, once you've gone in-house, you basically are labelled really as an in-house lawyer. As such, and it would be very difficult to get into private practice. The second reason, if you're a junior lawyer, you're learning from a range of lawyers. You're getting varied work experience. You're earning an awful lot of learning an awful amount of knowledge, and that can't be replicated in house. So I think earn your spurs first before you go in house. Obviously, if you're senior, it's different. You've learned pretty much most things, although we hope that you're still learning. That's what an elite lawyer would do. They still learn. But going in-house, you get the opportunity to use some of that legal experience in the commercial environment. And it makes sense as a senior lawyer to go in-house because you work for one client, which is your company, and you're not working for a heap of companies. The only things I would say about that is make sure you get the culture right of the company that you're going to join, because some companies would see in-house lawyers more as an admin, company support, whereas others see them more about the value and the costs that they can save their companies. Okay, next question I was asked. Do recruiters have value or skim fees? Aha, right. They add significant value to law firms. I can give you numerous examples. I'll give you one in the Cayman Islands, for example. I had a lawyer there, a very senior lawyer who I placed in the Cayman Islands. They brought in vast experience and contacts into their company, and it was worth way over $1 million. The recruitment fee came in, and I think it was about $45,000. And the HR person was complaining that it was too expensive for just sending a CV. My response to that was, well, that's really cheap. I mean, from my candidate, you generated over $1 million worth of business. So really, I should be charging more for my invoice. So No, we don't. We don't skim fees. It's an awful lot of work. I mean, for someone like myself, I'm a qualified lawyer. I've got over 22 years of legal recruitment experience. We're constantly working at our networks. There's a skill involved. We're finding those candidates that law firms cannot find. We're adding value. For example, if you are looking for a project finance lawyer and you don't hire your project finance lawyer because your team are overworked, then they're all going to up sticks and leave because they're overworked. Your clients are going to get fed up because deadlines aren't met. So there's a need for lawyers, and there's a price, a price to pay for it. I mean, you're paying. You don't pay people for time. You pay people for experience. You pay people for knowledge. So yeah, we add value. In terms of things that people don't see, we add value. We keep the process going, the recruitment process going when it could fall by the wayside as we're acting as intermediaries. We're helping candidates all the time with CVs, LinkedIn, business plans. We're helping them negotiate. We'll suggest them to clients how to negotiate. We're always in touch with clients, talking to them about market salaries. So there's so much value we provide to law firms. So that's basically it. So what we're seeing this week is a pickup in corporate M&A activity, particularly in the Middle East. We are seeing a picking up in hiring generally, presumably because law firms want to get place in the new year. My one tip this week is don't wait for certainty. Move when the market is moving. Okay, so if you're looking to move, I think it's a good time now because November, December is going to slow. It's going to slow down. So if you're a lawyer, if you're thinking about your next move, or you just want general career advice, tips on your legal career, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always open to responding to messages. Please follow the YouTube channel as well, so you can subscribe and don't miss the weekly updates. For HR people listening, please reach out to me if you need any guidance or advice, even as a consultant, or even as helping with your own internal recruiters. So so that's it. That wraps up the show. Thank you for joining, and I will see you all next week, and have a lovely weekend.